This video will be a brief overview of the lab revenue tracking system we've been discussing within gINT here. As you know, the user first will come into this test assignment details table and assign tests to each of the available samples in the project, as they are currently doing across the company. Anytime a change is made to any of the borings within this test assignment details tab, once the user leaves that tab to go do anything else, they're going to receive this pop-up here. If the user for the project, they're not going to send out any lab testing, so they're going to do it all in-house. They would simply click Save, which would trigger the export to our destination on the end drive, and the user would proceed as normal. I've included this Help button, which hopefully explains what this pop-up is and what it's used for. I've included that text in the email I sent. I would certainly welcome a review of that to help make it clearer. But if the project does call for sending some lab elsewhere to other offices or outside firms, we can start using these subcontractor columns here. You'll notice I've already told the system I'm sending some to Lenexa, so it defaulted to that. It uses these all, none, or some buttons here, which I think we've discussed, but hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to send all of the unit weights to Lenexa, for example, you would simply click the all radio buttons here. Let's say you only want to send a few of the console tests to Lenexa. You can click some and you get this secondary pop-up here. You could do select all, which is just kind of a more efficient way to select many samples, and you could do it that way. You'll notice if I unselect a few of those and hit OK, the sum button stays selected. On the other hand, if I do select each of the samples in that secondary pop-up, it's going to move that to the all radio button. So there's a lot of those kind of validation features built in. I think I've caught everything to make it logical, but certainly we need to check, do some testing on it. So you notice I clicked the plus button to add more subcontractors. I've included up to 6. So another feature that I've kind of built in, so let's say we send one UU to Lenexa, and I want to send another UU to a different lab. That first one I checked is going to be disabled in the secondary pop-up because I've already assigned it to subcontractor number 1, which I put in brackets following that sample. I could check the rest of those, or just check one of them, so all those buttons still work. So just to show you, I could send each of those consoles to a different lab. If all of those are already assigned and I click this, then each of the samples is disabled. Another feature, let's say I change my mind, I want to send all of the consoles to Joplin, or UUs in this case, then it's going to ask me, do you really want to do this? Do you want to clear the rest of the assignments? If I click yes, then it resets all the other subcontractors to none and puts that radio button at all. So this upper header part, as hopefully is self-explanatory, you can enter the name of the subcontractor or other Terracon office. If you check the third-party firm button, then it just turns into a text box, and you can type in the name of the company there. Alternatively, if you do the Terracon office version of this, then it's a drop-down menu with all of our offices. And I've sorted these by division to hopefully make it a little bit more user-friendly, so they can get where they're going faster. One thing to note is, let's say subcontractor 2, we assign some samples to them, and I try to click Save. The system recognizes, hey, you didn't even name that firm yet. You need to put a name in there before you proceed. So that's just a little bit of a validation there. You'll notice there's also this button below each of the headers here. That is some additional information. Right now I'm only tracking the name of the company, a contact person, let's say, Jason Jones, and the need by date, which could be, let's say 15th of next month. That does save in there, so if we want to change it, it's already pre-populated. The user does not need to fill that out in order to exit. I've already been playing around with that, so there's some default information there. But here's a blank one that I haven't already saved something in. You can see that the lab contact field will be blank, and then the need by date, we just give them a kind of a date template to fill in. But there is no validation there, so if you wanted to type something a little bit different, put it in this form, you could do that. So without anything there, it just defaults to that again. Now if I assign some samples, oops, I already had some assigned there, to let's say subcontractor 6, and then try to delete that column, it's going to give me another pop-up saying, you sure you want to delete that? You've got some assigned testing there. That's just to make sure we don't overwrite data by accident. So that's basically the system there. This fees button right now, I'm finishing up working on that. Currently, the way the user can adjust the fees is in this general information tab, which I will show in a second. I think it's the same as we discussed in the original prototype. But eventually I'd like to hide all those fields just because there's a lot of them. And this will be a pop-up, and it will only list the tests that are assigned, as this current pop-up does, and then give the user a chance to adjust them there, which hopefully will be a little bit cleaner than doing it actually in the gINT database. Obviously that will all save back to the gINT project, and if we re-trigger this window, that will all be saved and auto-populate. And speaking of saving and auto-populate, obviously any changes or assignments you make to any of these subcontractors are going to save for the next time. So if we come back and make any changes, they don't need to re-enter everything. So let me demonstrate that. Last point on this window, you'll see the hydrometer only has one sample assigned, so there's no point in having a sum button, so I've disabled that. So there's either all or none in that case. So let's click save, and because subcontractor 3 doesn't have any assignments, it's still going to let you close it, as you'll see in a second, even though there's no name associated with it. Okay, so once we hit save, it's doing the export to Excel. Right now it's just going to my desktop. But if I open up that file, you'll see it's in the template we've discussed. For the office number, this is the office actually doing the testing. And then I think 15 was Chicago, which is the office that we defaulted the project to. So in the project tab, I chose Chicago. So that's the main project. Project number, I pulled, kind of made that up there. And the rest of that is as we've discussed. So you'll notice Acme, so that was the third-party firm. That just puts the name in there because there's obviously no Terracon office number. So this brings us to this general tab here for the general information for test assignment. You'll see I still have the fee fields shown. Like I said, I'd rather do that in a pop-up in that other window, and we can hide these just so it's a little bit cleaner for the users. Just to demonstrate how the system saves, if I make a change in this table again and re-exit, everything's the same as the way we left it, so we don't need to re-enter anything. Good. I think that covers everything. Hopefully that was clear. If we need to discuss anything further, please let me know. Maybe we could set up a meeting. Thanks for your interest and your feedback.